Kita Gimel. Trying to show you that we have a special guest. That's Maisie the cat. She's ignoring me. She doesn't like when I talk that much. But I'm going to just quickly tell this part of the story. Okay, we're up to the seventh plague. God said to Moses, early in the morning, go to Pharaoh and say, the God of the Hebrews says, let my people go to worship me. This time, I will send all my plagues upon you, your courtiers and your people, so that you will know there is none like me in all the world. I could have killed you and all your people with pestilence. That's referring to the fifth plague that affected the livestock. But I spared you in order to show you my power and in order that people all over the world will know me. But you still do not let my people go. So God is talking about all his bringing these plagues as a way to show not just Pharaoh but the world that God is so powerful. This time tomorrow I will rain down a very heavy hail, such that has not been seen in Egypt ever. Order your livestock and everything out in the open be brought under shelter. Anything that is not sheltered will die when the hail comes down. So God is giving them a warning. Those among Pharaoh's courtiers who feared God brought their slaves and their livestock indoors to safety. But those who paid no regard, who ignored the word of God, left their slaves and their livestock out in the open. God told Moses, hold out your arm to the sky, that hail may fall on all the land of Egypt, upon people and animals, and all the grasses of the field in the land of Egypt. So Moses did so, and God sent thunder and hail and fire streamed down to the ground. The hail was very, very heavy, such as had never fallen on Egypt before. Throughout Egypt, the hail struck down all who were in the open, both people and animals and the grasses of the field and all the trees of the field. Only in Goshen, where the Israelites were, there was no hail. Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron and said, I have sinned before God. God is right, and I and my people are in the wrong. I think this is the first time we're hearing Pharaoh say something like this. But still, this is only the seventh plague, so we know there's more to come. Plead with God, but at this point, Pharaoh's saying, plead with God that there may be an end to God's thunder and hail. I will let you go, Moses said. As I go out of the city, I shall spread my hands to God. The thunder will stop and no more hail will fall, so that you may know that the earth is God's. But I know that you and your courtiers do not yet fear God. Notice Moses is a little more confident seeming and taking control. We don't hear him saying, well, let me check with God and I'll get back to you. He immediately says this. But we're told, okay, there's something that hasn't been met. Pharaoh and his courtiers do not fear God. The flax and the barley, those are crops, they were ruined, but the wheat crops ripen later, so the wheat was not hurt. Moses left Pharaoh and went outside the city and spread out his hands, and the thunder and hail stopped. No rain came down, but when Pharaoh saw that the rain, hail, and thunder had stopped, he became stubborn and went back to his guilty ways, as did his courtiers. Pharaoh's heart hardened, and he would not let the Israelites go. We're just told that Pharaoh's heart hardened. We're not told that God did it. Then God said to Moses, go to Pharaoh. I have hardened his heart and the hearts of his courtiers in order that I may display these signs among them, evidence of God's power. There we're told it, that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. Why is he doing this? To show how powerful God is, and that you may tell your children and your children's children how I displayed my power over Pharaoh. And in fact, here I am telling the story to you, Kita Gimel, about this. And so this in fact is our tradition to share this. You may say, why would God need to do such terrible things and to cause so much suffering in order to just to show God's power? But we could also, and I think that's an important question, and I don't really have a defense of it, but we also know that in the future, the Israelites are going to wander in the desert and they are going to lose faith, and they are going maybe to need signs of God's power to in order to keep on the right path. And in fact, we also mention all the time in the Shabbat service, we're mentioning all the time, we're remembering creation, that God created the world, and we're remembering that God brought the Israelites out of Egypt, brought us out of Egypt. And so those get mentioned all the time. The Michamocha references it in the long Kiddush, which a few of you do at home. When we say Zecher Litziat Mitzrayim, that's remembering that God brought us out of Egypt. Okay, so Moses and Aaron go back to Pharaoh. They say, let my people go that they may worship me. If you refuse, God will bring locusts on the land. They shall cover the surface of the land so that no one will be able to see the land. They shall devour anything that was left after the hail and eat away all your trees that grow in the field. They shall fill your palaces and the houses of your courtiers and all Egyptians. And then Moses and Aaron left. Pharaoh's courtiers said, how long shall this one threaten us? Let the men go to worship God. Are you not aware that Egypt is lost? They are losing faith. So Moses and Aaron were brought back, and Pharaoh told them, go worship your God. Who were the ones to go? This is really lovely. Moses answered, we will all go, young and old. We will go with our sons and our daughters, our flocks and our herds, for we must worship God. Moses is saying, no one will be left behind. We are all going. Very powerful message. But Pharaoh is not into that. Pharaoh says, you are up to no good. No, the men can go worship, but everyone else has to stay. And so Moses and Aaron refuse. They are sent away. And then God told Moses to hold out his arm over the land in order for the locusts to come. He does so, and he holds out his rod, and God drove the east wind over the land all that day and night. And in the morning, locusts were everywhere over the land. No one could see the land. There were so many of them, and they ate up all the grasses of the field and all the fruit of the trees, so that nothing green was left. And Pharaoh hurried and summoned Moses and Aaron and said, I have sinned before God and before you. Forgive me just this once and plead with God that God remove this death from me. So they left Pharaoh, pleaded with God. God caused a shift in the wind, and a strong west wind lifted up the locusts and threw them into the Sea of Reeds. Not a single locust was left in Egypt. But God hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let the Israelites go. Then God said to Moses, hold out your arm toward the sky, that there may be darkness upon the land of Egypt, a darkness that can be touched. Moses did so, and a thick darkness came down upon all the land of Egypt for 3 days. People could not see one another, and no one could get up from where they were. But all the Israelites enjoyed light in their houses. Pharaoh then called for Moses and said, go worship God. Only your flocks and herds will be left behind. Even your children may go with you. But Moses said, no, we need the animals to sacrifice to God. All of our animals shall go with us. But God hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not agree to let them go. Pharaoh said, go away from me. Take care not to see me again. For the moment you look upon my face, you shall die. That sounds familiar. It's foreshadowing what God is going to tell Moses and the Israelites, that they can't see him. But Pharaoh is saying this about Pharaoh's self, and Pharaoh thinks of himself as a god, as do the Egyptians. But and so he says this to Moses, if you see my face again, you're going to die. Moses said, you're right, I shall not see your face again, although they will interact. But it's a very dramatic moment. So I'm going to stop there and just say that, imagine just from the perspective of the Israelites, all these plagues, they're causing destruction. Now we have people dying. We have crops being hurt. Their way of living is being destroyed, and the Israelites are being protected. And what message that must send to them about God? God's going to take care of them. God is powerful. God is intervening on their behalf. All right, I'll continue again, and then we'll be doing the 10th plague in the next one. All right, bye, Kita Gimel.